Welcome to the Land Investing Business Secret Podcast, where each short episode we talk about the strategies, experiences, and the tools to help you launch, grow, and scale your land business. Learn how to find freedom within your own business, find out ways to build consistency in your processes, and hear how other everyday land investors are winning so you can get to the next step closer to building your dream life through your land business. And I'm your host of the Land Investing Business Secrets Podcast by Pebble, Jesse Kwong. Hey, how's it going, everybody? I've got a special guest and a friend. She's been in the land space for as long as I can remember when we got started as well. Alicia, how are you doing?
Jesse, I'm great. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on. And yes, I sometimes have to stop and count the years. It's like, has it been 6 years, 7 years? But time is flying by when it comes to how long we've both been in land.
I know. And, I don't know why I didn't have you on earlier. I did have you on in one of my wrap-up episodes of 2021, the end of 2021. I got 21 different land investors to just kind of give me their snippet.
I remember that.
And on that one, and then
that was 21 and 21, wasn't it?
Yes, and we had 22 of 22, but that was like we moved from just picking out 22 nuggets from recorded shows. It was a little challenging to get like everybody and coordinate 21. So we're like, okay, we'll just go back. So at the end of the year, we typically go back and just grab like a bunch of snippets. So you were on that one. I'm glad we finally have you on this episode. I know you've been doing amazing things in the space, but if someone for some reason it doesn't know who you are, Alicia, or maybe is new to the space, can you tell us who you are?
Yes, I can. So just like you, I'm an alien. So you're in Canada and I'm in Australia. So we get classed as aliens when it comes to the US. But we have been, I say we, my business partner, Matt, and I, we've been investing in US real estate now for, as I said, just over 7 years. We actually started off doing houses. We were fix and flippers back in the day. Yeah. But then we saw the light, Jesse. We switched to vacant land about 6 years ago now. And since then, like a lot of people would know me from the Land Investing Motivation Mastermind, which is a group that I host on Facebook. But equally, a lot of people would know me from the stuff that we do with marketing in the vacant land space as well with supercharged offers. So yes, we're real estate investors on one hand, but we also have a real estate investing marketing business on the other hand, because we just saw that there was a lot of people out there trying to run their businesses and not really knowing all the stuff about marketing that they need to. So we've been doing that now that's about four years now as well. So that's us.
I love it. But before we dive into the marketing stuff, because that's what I want to talk to you about today, it's so interesting. The last few episodes that I've been on recording people have come from the housing side of the world.
Isn't it? What does that tell us, Jesse?
So I'd love to learn a little bit more about your journey exiting that. What were you doing with houses? Was it fix and flips? Was it wholesaling? Tell us what was that and what was some of the more common struggles you had, because we get house listeners here. And, a lot of them are on the fence. Maybe they're trying to do both because they feel like, I don't want to exactly let go. But a lot of us who came from the housing world, we turned the other way and looked at land. We never looked back ever again. So what was that like, and what kind of caused you to make that transition?
Yeah, really great question. So what was it like? We were fix and flipping. We were doing single family homes. We did a little triplex, a little small multifamily as well. We were taking distressed properties and making them better and putting them back on the market. And to be honest, I loved it. I really did. We even went over for some of our properties and did like demo day, like you see on those television shows, and smashed stuff apart. And it was great. So we actually got really involved in our properties as well as having a contract team in place. Lots of fun, but super difficult to do it from the other side of the world, let alone another state in the US that you might be in. By the time we did our last property, it was really at the peak of when people were trying to get into single family homes. And we were noticing that finding an off-market deal was getting 10 times harder than what it was when we started. Keeping contractors on site, like people were pinching resources to try and get their project done. We had theft from our sites where people were coming on and just pinching all of our materials and all of our tools and things like that. Yes. And it was just starting to get really stressful. And the last house that we did, it nearly broke us because it took more than a year to do because we had so many delays with contractors and resources and project problems going wrong and things that were evolving with the house that once we got in there and started to do stuff, there was problems that we didn't know about earlier on. So it took about a year in total to get done, which was 5 or 6 times more than what it should have taken to do. And by the time we finished this project, Jesse, after all the problems that we had, we basically broke even. And that was a lot of time and effort to put in for no reward. And so that's when we paused and went, hang on a minute, is houses where we really need to be, or should we look at another asset class? And that's when we started to get into land and looked at that as an option.
Are you still involved with houses?
Nope.
There you go.
We have customers that do houses.
Yeah.
Definitely. But personally for us, nope.
I can really relate to that. I had that was my last project, and a project that got extended way too long, up to a year at that point. Delays after delays, and honestly, I don't even know what was the truth anymore. Trying to run this outside of the country, tools getting taken, and project. It was just a nightmare. And I mean, I'm glad to hear you didn't have a loss. I took a pretty major loss on that, and I was like, that's it, I'm done. And then just like you, and somehow ended up in the land space. So I love hearing that, and I'm so happy for you. And I hope some of you guys that maybe didn't know there's other asset classes and are listening to this, well, you're on this podcast for a reason probably already, because it is titled The Land Investing Business.
You're obviously curious, right?
So hint, keep digging down this rabbit hole. And Alicia is one of those people you definitely want to know in the space. So let's talk about marketing. And in fact, funny thing is, we're both sort of in that area a little bit. We both have our foot in there a little bit there.
Yep.
And I want to learn from you, and I'm sure our audience are really excited. And I haven't talked about websites and also branding, because I know you do a fantastic job with that. I'm just going to come out of the gate here. What have you noticed? Let's talk about branding here. Is there anything that you've noticed about branding with land and creating a brand around land? Any thoughts around that? I know it's kind of
I do. I've got quite a lot of thoughts on that, Jesse. I get very passionate about this, but let's just first of all think about our avatar when it comes to vacant land. So if we think about a seller versus a buyer, let's just start there. So sellers, especially sellers or landowners, or let's call them landowners for now, because they're the ones selling properties to us. But a lot of landowners, particularly if they've got problem properties, like let's just say they've got probates that need doing, or there's some historical issues or some title issues, or maybe they've got some personal issues going on that they need to get rid of their property quickly, or maybe they've got none of those issues, but they just don't want to go the traditional way. A lot of people who are landowners want to know that the person that they're doing business with is trustworthy, reliable, they're not a scam, they're going to do the right thing by them, they're going to help them, all of that stuff. So I think, first of all, if we put ourselves in the shoes of a landowner, they are looking for that right fit for them as well. Yes, they're looking for the right price for their property, definitely, but they're also looking for a relationship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If we think about the lens of a buyer just wants to know it's the right property in the right location for the right price that meets my needs, and quite frankly, don't really care too much about who I'm buying it from, right?
Yeah.
Not about relationship, it's more about property. So we need to think through those two lenses about who are we actually attracting and working with from the seller side versus the buyer side, because they are very different. And even if I know myself, when I have sold a property, because I've transacted a lot of properties myself as well, the person who I'm dealing with to look after me and my property is very different to when I've gone and bought a property. Those transactions inherently are quite different. So then we've got to think about that in terms of branding and positioning. So as an acquisition, so we focus a lot in a marketing business on acquisitions. Yeah. Like dispositions is actually pretty easy from a marketing perspective. Yeah. Acquisitions, a lot harder. And it's, well, I shouldn't use the word harder, it's just different. Yeah. So if we think about those differences, branding, studies have shown when you go out with a website that's got cash splashed all over it, that is, get cash now and It's got monetary visuals and things like that on it that people automatically associate that with a scam.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's right.
they don't consciously do it, but unconsciously there seems to be this association with that people, even if we think we're putting the right thing in front of them, they go, oh, and they second guess it. So first of all, from branding, it needs to be less about cash and more about what your branding is representing with the asset class you're doing, the value proposition that you're doing with that and things as well. So having the right branding, and branding is not just a logo, right? Branding is about your story, what you're positioning your business as, how you want to go out to the market with your offer to the world. And I don't mean financial offer, I mean the offer of how you're doing business, as well as logos, colors, all of those right things that come into play. So getting that right is really important. Yeah. Then it's also about customer experience on your website. So before I jump into that, have you got any questions on branding?
No, I'd love you to keep going here. I'm loving it.
Excellent. So I think when we think about customer experience, what I want to just clarify first of all is what is customer experience? Because a lot of people will hear this term CX or UX, UI, user experience, user interface, all those techie terms. But really what it comes down to, Jesse, is how do we make it super easy for our landowners to do business with us in any way they choose? Okay. What I mean by that is we are now dealing with landowners that might be in their 20s and 30s that have inherited a property, or maybe they're in their 30s and they bought a property to build a house on and plans haven't worked out, or they're in a divorce or things like that, all the way up to people in their 80s and 90s, right? Who maybe are sitting on intergenerational land and they're not overly tech savvy. So when we're doing marketing, we really need to think about how we create an environment for every single one of those people and everything in between to do business with us. So do they want to call us, email us, respond to a letter, send us back a handwritten note, watch a video, read an ebook, click through to my calendar? Like if I'm a super busy person and I've got a problem property that I want to talk about, maybe I want dedicated time on my terms to talk about my property. Do I want to start with your socials? Do I start, if I'm someone in my 20s and 30s, I'm more likely to check you out on Facebook first and then click through to your website versus, the other way around. Do I want to get a letter and use a QR code to click through and scan on my phone to check you out? Like, what are all the different ways that we need to create that enables our customer, our landowner, to do business with us in any way that they choose? So creating a website that allows all of those interactions to happen and happen seamlessly so that they can choose your own adventure, right? You know how you go to websites now and it's a bit like choose your own adventure. That's what we need to create for our landowners. Because often, and here's the danger zone here, Jesse, a lot of people will create websites based upon or I shouldn't say websites, let me use the term marketing. A lot of people will create marketing based upon how they want to do business. So let's say I'm 48 years old. I'm still 47, actually. I shouldn't make myself older, but I always seem to, my birthday's coming up in a few months and I always seem to fast forward myself. So I'm 47. I am the kind of person that will respond to digital marketing. So I'm likely to click on an ad. We do run ads for our audiences as well. Or I'm likely to go to a website and check someone out. Even if I get direct mail, I'm likely to do that. Okay. So, but that doesn't mean that I should be marketing out to my audience based upon my preference. That's the wrong way to look at stuff. What we should be doing is creating that environment for them to be able to interact with us in how they choose.
I love that. I hope you guys caught that. How they want to interact. They should have a way to interact with you how they choose.
How they choose, right. And then you should be able to service that. And this also comes back from customer experience to customer service. So if somebody is the kind of person that calls us and deals with us via telephone, then that's how we should interact back with them. Okay, someone emails us, then that's obviously telling us that that's their preference. So that's how we interact. So it's really coming back to understanding those preferences of your audience and playing to that.
This really, I hear this all the time. Certainly, I'm sure you hear this as well. A lot of people say, hey, I've run a land business without having to have a website. I've been fine without a website. Alicia, Jesse, like I don't need one. And tell me your thoughts on that. I mean, this sort of
Yeah.
directly relates to what you just mentioned. You're missing, I mean, you are literally missing
It's
out on.
leaving money on the table. That's what it is. So, and
Yeah.
same at the moment, like we've got a lot of customers that are doing SMS. Now, I think SMS has got a limited shelf life. Like we're seeing the 10 DLC regulation coming out next week,
Yeah.
where you have to have your number registered. We're seeing a lot more case studies coming down of, people
Carriers are getting
cracking down on
together now.
SMSing and stuff like
Yes.
that, right? It's got a
Yeah. A
limited
lot of
shelf life.
changes this year.
Yeah. So if you are just doing SMS, you're leaving money on the table for the people that don't respond to it,
Right.
that would prefer to do direct mail or who would prefer to go to your website and check you out and interact with you there. So it's that. And what I also want to note on that is this business is also about trust.
Yes.
You've got to create a trusting environment between you and your landowner. How do we do that? Due diligence. Just like we do due diligence on a property,
right.
a lot of the times your landowner will do due diligence on you. How do they do that?
Absolutely.
They'll go online and check you out. So how do we build that trust? That
So,
means
yeah.
that on your website, you need to be fully transparent about what you
Right.
do, how you do it. You need to be seen as helpful. So that's why on our websites, we'll do things like videos, how-to guides,
right.
ebooks, checklists, listicles. We'll provide all of these different things that will allow the landowner to, one, get to know you, but number two, see that you are trustworthy and that you're credible and that you know what you're talking about. Now, the catch-22 to that is someone's listening and they're like, but I don't know how to write an ebook, or maybe I haven't done enough deals to be credible yet. That's where marketing comes in, Jesse, because we
Right.
make it like you are.
Right.
Where you need a good content writer, a good copywriter, and a good designer.
It's so funny. I mean, when you say they're leaving money on the table, and you would never know that you're leaving money on table if you had not put out anything to
Yeah.
I've heard so many times. I run a challenge where I get a chance to talk to a lot of land investors. I mean, I talk to a lot of land investors on a daily, but a lot of people will tell me they've gotten a deal for the simple fact over everybody else is because they had a website and the others did not.
Yeah.
So,
Can I give you two really quick examples here, Jesse,
yeah.
just for the listeners who might be sitting there going, yeah, I'm still not convinced that I need a
Yeah.
website. Couple
Yeah.
of things. First of all, with our websites, we're always tracking your visitors. So we can see how many people are going to check you out. One of my customers, her name's Jennifer. She's wonderful. I remember when we got her website set up, the first phone call I had with her, because I have regular check-ins with my customers like you guys do. And she said, AJ, I just realized how bad my old website was based upon the fact that not only have I seen my deal flow increase, but now I can see how many people are visiting my website. And I'm now thinking that maybe people were visiting my website before, but I wasn't getting the lead flow because what they were seeing wasn't kind of resonating with them, right? And she's like, now I can see that this is making a difference. I'm like, great, that's awesome. Second example, one of our customers, Joelle, another awesome woman, her and her family wanted something on their website that was very values driven. So their website is not only about being land investors and how they help and what they do, but it's also inherently got some stuff in there about their values, their Christian faith, how their family does business through the lens of, how they live their life, which is wonderful. She got a contract where someone called her and said, I actually align with your values and I love the fact that you're of the same faith as me. And because of that, you're going to get my deal. So sometimes we don't realize what's going to resonate with people until they tell us.
Yeah, exactly. Another big thing that I typically hear is a couple things. Number one, should I have two separate websites? One for the acquisition, one for the disposition. And then two, how the heck do I come up with the names for these? And how do I come up with the domains for this? This is one that I know that sounds like a silly question, but a lot of people get hung up on this. I'm sure you know this. They're waiting for the LLC. Should I do that? And then does it have to be what are your thoughts on that? I know we're not going to advise on anything legal on here, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've got a couple of thoughts on there. First, let's go to the first question. Do I have two websites? 100% yes.
Yes.
The last thing you want is for your landowner to go to your website and see properties that they go, oh, maybe I can get that for my property, right? I can get 100,000, and then have a conversation with you and you go, I can give you 50,000. And they're like, hang on a minute, you've got properties like mine for 100,000. So definitely keep them separate, and keep them separate because your audiences, keeping in mind what I said at the beginning, your buyers and your sellers are different people. They will need to see and hear different things, okay? Yeah. Now for us, we've actually kept our domain pretty similar. So our land business is called Land Scouts, and we've got forsale.landscouts.com for our disposition. We've got sell.landscouts.com for our acquisition. Okay. Interestingly enough, in the 6 years of doing this, we've never had one person go, I've seen you on both websites. Like, right. Pretty rare because they've got the domain. They know where they're going, but pretty rare. But to come back to domain names, we often have a lot of customers that struggle with this as well, and that's where we help them. So 2 things to distinguish. One, business versus branding. Yeah. Your business name, our business name is Global Citizens Holdings, Inc.
That's right.
You won't see that on our website anywhere, okay? Our branding is landscouts.com. We've just simply set up a DBA so that on our contracts, we've got Global Citizens Holdings, Inc., DBA Land Scouts, so they can see that our branding is there. Now, I'm not saying that everybody has to go out and do a DBA because some people have their business names very similar to their domain names, and that's absolutely fine as well. But we also have customers that will have their business name and their branding. So it might be, I'm trying to think of a customer at the moment. So let's just say that their business name is, I'll use our business just to protect our customers. Let's just say that their business name is landscouts.com, but their domain might be something like sellyourpropertytous.com.
Yes.
So sometimes the difference between your branding and some people like to have their branding and their domain the same, which is great. That works. Some people also like to have one of our customers is Coast to Coast. And I'm pretty sure their domain is, sellyourlandtous.com. Because sometimes having a domain that is intentional and actionable and is planting a seed in the brain of your land seller to go, sell your land to us. Oh, okay, maybe these guys will buy my land. So that's part of our consultation with our customers early on, Jesse, is we really get deep on that stuff, which is what do you want your branding to be positioned as? What do you want your customers to do when it comes to the call to action on your website? Do we have your call to action aligned to your domain? Have you got an existing domain out there that you want to use that maybe we need to put a subdomain on? So we'll go through all of that with them to make sure that they're well thought out for that, because you're right, people do get a little bit overwhelmed with it and they don't need to.
Yeah, totally. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to let you guys know. This was a couple years ago when I recorded an episode. It was episode number 45 on this show here, but I did talk about choosing domains and some of the technical things, where you buy it, if you want to buy it, the length of a domain, typically things that you want to avoid, like numbers. So check that out. It's episode number 45. But nonetheless, I want to come back to websites here. What are some of the more common misconceptions that we can sort of squish here on the show that we typically hear about websites? What is there anything that comes to mind that, any misconceptions?
Or misconceptions. I guess coming back to what you said earlier, that people go, don't need a website. Well, yeah, you do. Everyone's online these days. Misconceptions. A lot of people think that I just need a landing page where someone can just put in their details. Whilst that might be functionally okay, again, we need to come back to our avatar, which is a lot of people want to be able to see you, get to know you, start an interaction with you, test the waters with you before they'll even give you their information. Studies have actually shown that over 90% of people that get marketed to will go and check you out before they do business with you, okay? However, when your website isn't high conversion, so there's a difference between high function, high conversion. If your website's not high conversion, 96% of those people will leave the website without taking action.
Right.
So I guess what we want to get to here is the misconception is, again, I see people that have a basic landing page, which is, sell your land to us, put your information in here and we're done. If people don't resonate with that, they leave. So sometimes
Right.
you've got to put something in front of them that makes them go, oh yeah, I want to know more. Like I'm
Mm,
curious. How do we get that
mm,
curiosity happening to
mm.
start that relationship? And I guess that's the other misconception is people go, my website just needs to show my business. No, your website needs to start a relationship. I want you to think about your website like an online dating site. You want your land sellers to kind of, you don't want them to swipe that way. You want them to swipe in the right direction and opt in. They need
Yeah.
to like what they see, like what they hear. That's the other misconception too, is people are like, I'll just have great photos and I'll just get a templated site with the same copy that everyone else has got and I'll put some great
Sure.
photos on it. No,
Yeah.
you're dealing with a human. Humans inherently, if we think about a lot of adult learning styles, is we have what's called 4 modalities. We are visual, we are auditory, we are what's called kinesthetic, which is feeling, and we're analytical. So that means I need to see the right stuff, hear the
Yes.
right stuff, understand the right stuff, and resonate with it.
This is why video is so powerful. This is one of the first easiest things that I've talked about this on an acquisition website. One of the easiest things: get on camera, film yourself, be candid, talk about who you are, why you're doing this, your
Yep.
story. How are you there to help them? That is probably one of the easiest ways. There's a couple great tools out there. If you guys are listening, there's a Prompt Smart Pro. I think that's what it's called. If you ever wanted to record from your phone,
Yep. You can
VidAsk is
even
another.
upload a script in there in Prompt Smart Pro and just read off it. It's super
That's right.
easy.
That's right. That's what it is. A
Yeah.
teleprompter while you're recording yourself. There's another great tool I like to use called VidAsk. It allows you to embed a little video on the corner of your website. We do this on our homepage with PebbleREI.com, and it's a great conversation starter. So
Yeah,
it's
we use
again
that
building
too.
that story, building that trust. This is a people to. At the end of the day, right, Alicia? This is a people to people business. I get it. There are numbers involved. Yes, we are doing high volume sometimes, but at the end of the day, this is still people to people. Now,
100%.
Alicia, I also
And
want to
just
ask
on
you.
that, before we get off videos, for anyone wondering, we do a lot of videos on our websites and our socials. We even script and film interviews with you because a lot of people, as you said, a lot of people are hesitant. They're nervous. They don't want to say the wrong thing. They don't want to
Sure.
film the wrong thing. I literally hold their hand through the whole process and go, people want to
Love
get
that.
to know you. Let's write up something that you can talk about. Let's film it together. I guide them through it. And then we also do like promo videos. We do how-to videos. We will do, because the other thing to keep in mind as well is the other misconception is I don't need good SEO, SEO being search engine optimization. Yes, you do. You do need to understand how keywords work and have the right keywords in your headings, your subheadings, your meta tags, your image tags, your video tags. You also need to understand how ranking works these days. Actually, I'll rephrase that. You don't need to understand it. You need to go to someone who does understand it and implement it for
Yeah,
you.
you definitely don't want to go
And
down
that's
that rabbit hole.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's making sure that you've got things like video. Google and Facebook love video. It's content, right? It's making sure that there's something on there that is a little bit different. So we make sure that stuff's all there for you and your audience.
You know, you just mentioned something about, I think at the start of that, when you started mentioning, I think you said something about social presence, but what outside of websites, where should you be present? In terms of social media, what have you seen? Where else may they stalk you on?
Generally, Facebook.
Okay.
We will, with our integrations for our website, we will push out ads and posts to Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And a lot of people want to start to build that presence as well. But the most places that people will check you out is Facebook.
Yeah.
And that, again, making sure on Facebook you've got a dedicated acquisition disposition. You don't
Yeah.
want your sellers going on your Facebook page and seeing that there's properties advertised. And they will
Yeah.
check you out. If you've got a website these days that doesn't link to your socials, people will start to go, well, why aren't you on socials? It's how do
Yes.
we appease that question that goes on in their mind?
Yes. Um, I've got something called the quick fire round, but before we get to that, I want to say thank you for sharing all your insights. I hope some of you guys have brought out pens here, and we'll talk about how you can get a hold of Alicia and what she does Alicia, do most people call you AJ? I feel like I'm left out of the club here. I didn't know if
Yeah,
people call
most
you.
people call me AJ because my name is actually pronounced Alicia, but no one ever gets it right.
Oh my
So
gosh. No, I feel
it's all
like I
right,
should have asked
Jesse. It's the
AJ on the
story of my life,
show.
and I didn't want to correct you at the beginning because we were
Oh
recording.
my goodness. Well, hey, I stand corrected, AJ, Alicia. So, I actually want to rewind here a little bit. When we were talking about houses, I'm actually really curious about this and your thoughts on this. When you came over from houses into land, I know totally, different topic now, but did you feel there were relatable skill sets that you could bring over?
Yes, all of it is relatable. There wasn't one thing that we didn't learn in the housing space that we haven't been able to apply in the land space because, doing research to find out areas to do deals in, comping a
Yeah.
property, looking at in houses, they call it the ARV, the after repair value. It's
Mm,
almost the same in land because if you've got a piece of land that comes to you with problems that you need a probate done or you need to clear title, you've almost
yeah.
got like an ARV with land. It's the same kind of principle, right? Um,
Mm.
everything is transferable, I would say.
Is there any nuances that were quite different, you would say?
I guess in terms of how to comp a property was a little different.
Mm. Okay.
Um, understanding different asset classes within vacant land. So how to comp, say, a commercial property versus a vacant residential versus agricultural. All of that's different, especially because, for a house, it tends to be on a single family home lot versus when
Right.
you're dealing with, 100 acres versus an infill lot. There are those nuances that's a little bit different. And also
Sure.
understanding things like zoning and what can be done with properties. That was a
Mm.
learning curve too. But again, there's so much information out there, Jesse. There really is. We didn't find anything that was insurmountable. It was all pretty easy.
Right. Okay, well, I'm coming into this part of the show. I know we got to wrap up here soon, but the quick fire round, we want to learn a little bit more about Alicia. Oh my gosh, I feel like this is a whole new name. This all these years in my head, I would just say Alicia, Alicia.
Don't
I feel
worry.
so silly. So, outside of land, what do you like doing, Alicia?
Oh, I love travel. Travel's my number one.
Yeah,
And
okay.
that's, again, coming back to anyone listening to this, we started this business so that we could do this from anywhere in the world as long as we have a laptop and a phone.
I love
And
it.
we have proven that time and time again.
It is
We've
a
done
laptop.
deals, as some of you, if people might have listened to some of my other podcasts, we've done deals on the ski slopes in France. We transacted a property on a yacht in the middle of the ocean in Croatia. We're in Australia doing deals, Travel's my number one.
I love it. Recommend if you had to recommend one book that you've read recently, what would it be and why?
It's not one that I've read recently, but it's one that I still recommend time and time again, and it's called The E-Myth by Michael Gerber.
Oh
Um,
yes,
and the E-Myth is really about trying to understand, E-Myth being the entrepreneurial myth, right? People
yes,
that want to start businesses, that want to create this lifestyle business, etc. This gives you the reality that you can't do everything. You can't be
yes,
the jack of all trades in your business and still
yes.
expect to have an entrepreneurial business. And really understanding what your role in your business is and what you need to either systematize, outsource, or partner with on other people. And that's where we come into play too, right? We become part of our real estate investors. We become part of their team. We are like their fractional marketing team.
Yeah,
And so the E-Myth by Michael Gerber is a really good one.
I love that. It's a great book. I know that's somewhere in my bookshelf here. But one thing that you did a lot as a kid and you wish you could do more of nowadays.
Oh, probably doing a few more outdoor activities. As a kid, I used to do a lot of horse riding, bike riding. I
Wow,
grew up in the country in here in Australia, so I was a country kid, and I loved getting out and into the great outdoors. And now I live in the middle of the city. I think I need to get outdoors a little bit, Jesse, and get back into nature.
yes, yes. Okay, one more here. One bad habit that you're actively working on right now.
Oh, do I have to divulge this one? A bad habit.
Yes.
Oh,
If you can't,
goodness.
if you
I'm
can't
actually
come up with any,
really
not a
good.
big
I've
problem.
just gotten back into my exercise. So one bad
Okay, there you
habit
go.
that I got into in the middle of winter over here was and we were doing a fair bit of travel, is I put my exercise on the back burner. So just in the last few weeks, I'm breaking that habit and I'm back into my Pilates, my yoga,
Oh,
working out,
awesome.
all of that stuff. So I'd probably say that the bad habit of not honoring yourself to put that exercise first, because as entrepreneurs, we work some pretty long hours and we've got to look after ourselves as well.
I love it. Okay, actually, I got one more question.
Okay.
Who would you recommend to have on this podcast and why?
Hey. Oh, you put me on the spot with that one. Do you want a land person?
Anything. I mean, the podcast revolves around land, but not necessarily.
Yeah. I'm going to say a very good friend of mine. I don't know if you've had him on, Robin Seib. He's,
Okay.
yeah, so Robin, he started his land business from Germany. He now spends his time between Germany and the US. He's got a really great platform he's about to release on the disposition side of things. And I know a lot of people are struggling with that at the moment with the current market, with selling their properties. I would get him on to talk about his ideas with how he's dominating the market there.
Awesome. Will do. I appreciate that. So, Alicia, oh my gosh. You see what I mean? AJ, that's just so much easier. AJ,
Go with AJ.
How can people, how can they reach you? How can they learn more about you?
Yeah, so they can email me direct. I'm happy for people to contact me direct. So it's Alicia, Alicia, because no one ever gets that right. You can see that down the bottom. Alicia at superchargedoffers.com. They can call my team, 888-538-5478, and our team will, they'll probably get voicemail because my team's pretty busy, but then they can get a call back and book time. Or best thing is actually to just go onto our website, superchargedoffers.com. They'll find a little bit more about what our products and services are. We do everything from data, direct mail, digital, all of that stuff that we do. And they can download what's called a Supercharged Offers Success Scorecard. That's a lot to get out. We have a success scorecard where people can actually go on and self-assess their marketing and their business. I'll give you we've actually got a dedicated site for that one. It's called get.superchargedoffers.com/score. I might give you that link to put in, and people can go in and do a self-assessment on where their business is at, what they need from a business or a marketing perspective, and how we can help.
I love that. You see how AJ puts this all into practice. I mean, she makes it easy for you to contact her with email, phone, websites, value
self-assessment,
stuff.
all that stuff. And they can go onto our Facebook page as well, Supercharged Offers. We've got loads of success stories on there and video testimonials from happy customers. And more than happy to have a free consultation call with anyone and talk about their business and their marketing and how we can help.
I love it, Alicia. Thank you for...
And I'm going to add a quick note here because this is credit to you, Jesse. Our system integrates with your CRM really, really well. So when we're building websites for people, we can push leads direct into Pebble. When we do data for people, you guys have been awesome at creating a field where they can simply upload our data and we manage it all for them. It's super easy. So, the fact that you and I can really integrate to help people, succeed in their business, I love that.
I know that'll continue to grow here and we'll continue to work on different things. But Alicia, I just want to say thank you for you being you helping the people that you help. I know that I've heard it from many people how impactful you've been in their business. So thank you. And thank you so much for coming on the show.
Jesse. I really appreciate that.
Have you on again. I don't know why I didn't have you on earlier, but I kind of technically did. But I'm glad I finally got you on. Alicia, thank you so much for being on the show here.
Thank you, Jesse, and thank you everyone for listening.
Before you stop this episode or hit the next episode, I want to personally thank you for listening to this episode of the Land Investing Business Secrets podcast by Pebble. If you found this helpful, we'd greatly appreciate any awesome reviews and ratings on whichever platform you are listening to this on. And if you have 2 minutes and wanted to step it up even more and help others, feel free to share this in other Facebook groups or pages or any communities, giving others a heads up of the Land Investing Business Secrets podcast or the specific episode that may help them on their land investing journey. Once again, thanks so much for listening and catch you on our next episode.